Yo, what is up, crew? And welcome back to another vlog. I was just gonna kind of jam with you guys about a conversation that I was having with one of the men that I work with inside our Thrive group program. Now, our Thrive program works with men that are going through or facing divorce and separation. So most of the time, when we are coming in contact with a guy, he is in dire straits, or in what I like to call the depths. Now, the depths is a very scary place to be in because it's in those moments that we have no idea or nor do we have a grid for what comes next. Now, in the line of work that I have been given the gift of stepping into, I get to hear tons of stories of, if I could go back, this is what I would do differently. And I feel like as a young man, being able to hear these stories and these hard lessons learned by proxy gives me so much perspective and insight because, realistically, not every marriage can be saved. Not every marriage can be saved. Now, it's easy to say sometimes some things are too far gone, and other times there's just no shared investment from the other party. And you cannot control someone else's ability or enable them to show up more in the relationship if they are already checked out. But if you're a guy who is experiencing fringe in his relationship or you're experiencing fringe in your marriage, this message is for you. Now, realistically, there is no amount of anxiety or over-analysis or regret that can change the past. Just like there is no amount of proper planning or perfect planning that can perfectly predict the future. Now, many guys come in and they're in this place of pain. That's the depths. Whether an affair happened, her towards them, or their wives towards them, or something was said, or something happened. Realistically, they're coming to us when they're in a place of dire straits because they either, one, feel like they're in limbo, and limbo is the scariest and worst place that you could ever be in because limbo to me says flatline. And when I think flatline, I think you're dead. And realistically, sometimes the marriage as you know it or the relationship as you know it is dead. It's gone, it's buried, it's completely done. The second someone says, I want a separation or I want a divorce, or someone has an affair, or toxicity starts to come into the relationship and incubate itself and grow like an amoeba, the relationship or marriage as you know it or as you knew it is completely dead and gone. It's done, it's buried, let it die. Now that you have clarified that, even if you choose to not accept it, gentlemen, you need to stop hitting the she button and you need to start hitting the me button. Now, here's what that actually means. I have guys that come in so frequently that share this and that, and she's doing this, and she always does this, and she never does this, and she. It's all putting the onus on her as if she is the only one that is lacking in the relationship. Now, gentlemen, let's just be brutally fucking honest. You are no saint. You haven't always been a saint. And that leads to you being able to take some responsibility. Because realistically, that is the pathway to freedom. Now, the sooner that you sit in what I call the guilt cycle. Now, the guilt cycle is probably where you're stuck at if you feel like you're in limbo. Now, this is when you vacillate back and forth between guilt, meaning I feel so guilty, I feel so bad, I can't believe I'm here. Then you start shaming yourself. Oh, I'm so horrible. I hate myself. I'm such a bad man. I'm a bad person. I'm a bad dad. And then sometimes you start to blame. You start to blame all this fickle bullshit. You know, I had a guy come in once that literally was blaming CrossFit for the reason his marriage was where it was. And I just told him quite simply and quite frankly, brother, maybe if you fucking went to CrossFit, your marriage would change and it wouldn't be here. Now, I was being coy and joking when I said that. But realistically, what I'm saying is, as men, we get so caught up in this guilt cycle and it leads down to the cycle of disempowerment. Now, this is when we feel shame. We start to tell ourselves like, I'm a bad man, I'm a bad husband, I'm a bad boyfriend. And we start to blame our wives or our girlfriend or external forces like affair partners or friends, or maybe even ourselves. And this is usually when we try to find solutions. Now, we go to therapy, we get advice, and therapy is great. However, a therapist is not going to push you in the same way that someone who sees you as a coach in that dynamic, because we're not confined by red tape. Now, this is when we try to stop the bleeding just to get her to come back to the marriage. We try to stop the bleeding. It does not heal the wound. Gentlemen, if this is you, if you are stuck in the guilt cycle, all of this leaves you completely and utterly disempowered. It's a big red flag of disempowerment because all of your focus and onus is on her and what she is doing. You're blaming yourself, you're shaming yourself, maybe you're blaming all this bullshit, maybe even your kids. Maybe the reason you're staying together is you're telling yourself the story, I'm staying together for my kids. Don't blame your kids. That's a poor reason. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't stay together for the kids. However, if you are in a dead marriage that is not fulfilling your needs, what kind of example do you believe that sets for your children? Now, here's what I'm getting at. If you are stuck in the guilt cycle and if your relationship is on the fringe and you're recognizing like, I'm in fucking limbo, here's where you go from here. I'm gonna give you the path to freedom. You get to bridge the gap to ownership and responsibility. Ask yourself, what can you take ownership over that led to the downfall of the relationship or the marriage? What can you take responsibility over? Literally, like actions, things that you did or lack thereof. What can you take responsibility over and what can you take ownership over? Okay, this leads to detaching from the outcome and ensuring that you are okay regardless of what happens in the relationship. It sets yourself up to succeed instead of just inkling and hanging on to any little false positive. Oh, she gave me a hug today. That must mean that we're going in the right direction. No, could just be a false positive. We don't know. But here's the thing. Your present reality does not dictate your path forward, okay? Now, you either want/need your wife back, you feel betrayed, you feel angry, you feel lost, you lack confidence, power, and freedom, right? Now, before you can do anything else, if you are feeling like you're in limbo, or if you want or need your wife back, you feel betrayed, you feel angry, you feel resentful, you feel lost, you feel like you're in limbo, you're lacking confidence, power, and freedom, before you can do anything else, you must get clarity on these three things. Number one, you need to clarify if you want to be married to her or if you don't want to be married to her anymore. You need to clarify if you want to save the old marriage where you repeat the same cycle and same mistakes over and over and over again, and within 6 months to 2 years, you're back in the same place, if not worse. Or the third path, you get to choose to commit to doing the work on yourself to start showing up differently, Now, we can't control her or the work that she is doing or lack thereof. And you can't manipulate her by leaving a fucking personal growth book or sending her a TikTok or a YouTube or anything like that. You can only control you. Now, if you're feeling like you're in limbo and if you're feeling like you're in limbo and you have no idea where to go from here, that is the optimal path forward, because your present reality does not have to dictate your path forward. All you need is clarity on those things I just shared, a formulated path forward, and you need to bridge the gap to ownership and responsibility. That's all I got for you. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.